Hey, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of Elvis Vinyl Bootlegs. Today, I'm going to do something a little different. Some people, believe it or not, still aren't quite sure what a bootleg is. And then I'm also going to go over the difference between a genuine bootleg, a pirated album, and then counterfeits of bootlegs. Because believe it or not, there are counterfeits of bootlegs out there. So, what exactly is a bootleg? A bootleg is a record or now CD or downloadable file of typically an illegally recorded concert. In other words, back in the 70s, someone would take a tape recorder into an arena where a concert was going on, record it, get it to a pressing plant, and have a record made of it. So all those were illegal. Not supposed to do that, but it happened. There's hundreds of Led Zeppelin concerts out there, The Who, Pink Floyd, all kinds of different bands. So that's typically what they are. There are some that are made up of studio sessions. Those are a little bit more rare now, especially. It's virtually impossible to get bootlegs of studio recordings. Now, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, the security wasn't as good. The record companies really didn't know what they had. So people would sometimes go into the vaults and just kind of take what they wanted. There was a point where record companies would take the tapes because of the expense. They would sell the master tapes to their employees, with the more or less understanding that they would erase them and use them for something else. Obviously, that didn't happen all the time. There were a lot of Elvis studio sessions where RCA employee bought the tapes for pennies on the dollars, realized what they had, and turned around and sold them to bootleggers. Olympic studios in England, for instance, they threw away I don't know how many hours of Who outtakes. Literally threw them away in a dumpster. Somebody walked by, saw what they had, and grabbed the tapes. So that kind of thing did happen. Like I said, it's a lot more rare now because you don't have as many people getting the recordings. Often because they're digital files, they'll put together the master and then just erase everything else. So that's basically, in short, what a bootleg is. Then you get into the difference between a bootleg or a pirated album. Like I said, a bootleg is an illegal concert recording. It was studio tapes that were illegally obtained and put out that the labels had no intention of doing. A pirated album is an album that somebody made that has virtually identical album cover graphics and virtually identical labels. So it's meant to fool somebody into thinking that they're buying a legitimate record. One of the best examples I have of a pirated record is this Elvis Christmas album. This particular one was released in New Zealand only. It's extremely rare now, if you can even find a pressing. Real pressings of this that you could buy in a store typically go for somewhere around $1,000. That's how rare they are. Somebody went ahead and they pirated this album. The graphics are nearly identical. The label, the record, everything is identical. This was meant to be passed off as the real deal. It's not. A couple ways you can tell. In this corner where the catalog number and the RCA is, it's not as easy to see. It kind of blends in with the background. And then on the back of it, on the New Zealand pressings, the inside tab, or one of the kind of tabs that holds the record together, it's on the outside. This does not have that outside tab, so that's another way of telling it's a pirated album. That said, because the real ones are so rare and hard to get, even these pirated albums have value to them. And if you're sitting there wondering, hey, is that for sale? No, it's not. It took me quite a while to find it. So that's a pirated album made to look exactly like the real thing. It's not a bootleg, despite what you might see in a book. This is a pirated album. A bootleg is this right here. And I'm using this as an example. This is probably top 5 of the most well-known Elvis vinyl bootlegs out there. And it's Rockin' with Elvis New Year's Eve. It's from the Pittsburgh show from December 31st, 1976. And it went into January 1st, 1977. Absolutely beautiful album. The photographs are all in color, top notch. The cover is that bright blue that you can see with the Star Spangled Banner around the cover of it. It's got some of the contents printed on the front. On the back, it's got another great photo plus the contents, so you know exactly what all is in this album. And then when you open it up, in the middle, there's some liner notes and more photos from the concert. Absolutely beautiful album. RCA did not put this out. This was absolutely positively a bootleg album, but absolutely beautiful. The sound quality on it is almost studio perfect. If you say a studio rates around a 5, this would be in a 3.5 to 4. The guy who recorded it was in the perfect place, and the sound is absolutely stunning. Now, there are multiple pressings of this album. Believe it or not, the guys that made this also, I think they did 2 or 3 other pressings of it. It was never counterfeited, but there are other pressings that the original bootleggers did. And this one came from Sam Thieker and Paul Dowling. The easiest way to tell that this is an original is it's got this white band around the cover. The subsequent pressings don't. They just have that red, white, and blue banner around it. So that's the easiest way to tell that this is a first pressing. Most of the stuff that I have is first pressings, unless it's got a different cover or something else. I really don't collect the counterfeits or I've only got one pressing of this. I don't have all 2 or 3 of them. So this is a bootleg. So now we get into counterfeits. This album here is called The Last Farewell, and this is a 2-record set of Elvis's last concert, June 26, 1977, at the Market Square Arena in Indianapolis, Indiana. This is the original pressing. The way you can tell on all subsequent pressings, the ticket color on here is blue. On all the counterfeits, the tickets are red, black, whatever. This is how you can tell that this is the first original real pressing of this album. The first counterfeit had red. It was a red cover, so that's easy to tell. The other 2, they switched a little bit of the things on the front, but so it's a little bit harder to tell. This is a first pressing of The Last Farewell. So there are counterfeit pressings. Then you have sort of a counterfeit of a counterfeit, if that makes sense. The Final Days. This record has the same contents as this one. All they did was change the cover, and obviously it's cheap. The photos are black and white. There's very limited information on the back. So this is a counterfeit of a counterfeit. Like I said, I know it's might be hard to follow, but that's what this is. These were put out. Sam Thieker, the same guy that did the Rockin' with Elvis New Year's Eve show, he put out about 25 different albums. And when he did that, the original ones were pretty hard to find. Like, if you couldn't find an original copy of The Last Farewell, you could buy this one. Most of these were shipped overseas. And this one is actually a first, I guess you would say, a first counterfeit pressing of this album. The reason, or the way you can tell, is because the background here is in yellow and all the photographs are yellow. When Sam got done with his pressings, he sent all of the graphics and the tapes to a guy named Richard Miner who lived in Florida. And Richard Miner went ahead and then he would press his own albums. The easiest way to spot those, and the way I know that this is a Richard Miner one, is because of this yellow cover. He also did some with a pink background and a blue background. It's not terribly rare. I think Sam typically pressed about 1,000 of his own, and then Richard would do like 500 in each color. So there's about 2,500 of them out there, which for a bootleg, that's a pretty big run. Another counterfeit, and this is another Richard Miner one, is Elvis Memories. Now this one, the bootleg that it came from is also Live Memories, and it doesn't really have a whole lot of new. In fact, I don't think it has any new stuff on it, new material. It was just copied from everybody else, and they put that out. Again, the way you can tell that this is a Richard Miner is because the background is blue. There was also done in pink. I've got an original copy on order. It just hasn't got here yet, but this is a counterfeit as well. So I hope that helps you out. If you have any questions at all, put those in the comments section. I'm always happy to answer questions. If there's a particular album that you want to see, basically what I'm going to do is just go through alphabetically what I have. So if there's something that you really are interested in seeing, like a first pressing of the Hillbilly Cat Live that came out in 1970, if you want to see Rockin' TV 1956, anything like that that people are really interested in seeing, put that in the comments and I'll kind of bump that up to the top of the heap. So again, comments and questions are certainly welcome. Thank you for watching. Pass it along to your friends if you think they might be interested. And thanks for watching.